because of the pain, the suffering, the problems, the headache, the heartache, the Lord vindicated me.
JP. Whoa. Whee. Better wake up. Whoa. Better shake up, shake up. I wanna wake up.
Whoa. Whee. Hi guys, so this is not the usual video. This is just a bit of a reflection. It's a part of Jamaica and I's story because it's one of the, I think this moment after we met each other really kind of challenged our faith, personally and collectively. And I think it's right where we stopped talking about our story in our series, so it's kind of timely. And I feel like since we share so much about, we are the faith family, and it's time we really get into the nitty-gritty of what our life has looked like when it comes on to our faith, what the challenges we have overcome with the help of the Holy Spirit and just God guiding us, and our obedience and discipline and community support, all of that. So we really want to get into that. So if you want to hear more about the essence of what faith looks like for us, what we had to exercise in order to get where we are, and what we're doing now in order to go forward, then stay tuned. Remember to like, comment, and share this with others so that they too can be inspired to seek after God and grow in their faith. So welcome back, guys. So when I think about this moment when Jamaica and I really got together, so this is after he came to Jamaica and he proposed to me, and that proposal was not your typical excitement. I kind of did express that. I'm very, when it comes on to like these moments in my life, I'm very private. I'm very out there, but I like intimacy, and I like the thought, and I don't like the extravagant things, So the fact that he did that and he took the time to write me a beautiful letter, and while I read that letter, it kind of challenged me in the sense that I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. And yes, I knew this was my husband, and I think the proposal was just kind of like him cementing that we know we're doing this, and we're doing this for sure. I think we're gonna share our we do have like a video, and I think we're gonna post that soon. Anyways, immediately, so during this time, so this was like March, so backtracking, I had gone to Trinidad in February. He came to Jamaica in March of 2019, and before he came to Jamaica, I went on I think it was a 3-day fast or 7-day fast, because I'm not sure if I shared in the other video, but immediately on the day when I returned to Jamaica, I think this was the 22nd of February, I got an email. As I stepped into my apartment, my phone buzzed, and I checked, and I got an email, and I was accepted into the Community Solutions Program fellowship to go to the United States. And this was not like a waiting list. I was accepted, and this was a thing. So I was like, oh my God, like, yes. So I had applied for that like in October of the year before, 2018, and obviously life happened. So to get that acceptance, this was like, okay, I'm going to the States, I'm going to be working, I'm going to be learning, this is a new like development for me personally and professionally. And I was like, oh my God. And by the way, this program, less than 1% get accepted. So even in my time, And I say give my time because time has gone so much. I cannot believe that that I was selected. Like there were so many applicants, like over 8,000 applicants, and they only chose like less than 177 at the time for my year. So this little girl from Picot Street, Mount Salem, was on her way to the United States to work and build her capacity for free. Anyways, all expenses paid. Okay, so I now had to make a decision as to how am I going to go, because I'm in full-time employment with the government, and this was going to be 4 months away. No, I said, Lord, if you know me, people who watching this, if you know me, and if you don't know, now you know, I don't make any decision without praying. So don't ask me to like tell you. I don't know. I have to pray, and I have to pray and wait for an answer. So I was excited. I told Michael, and we decided that, all right, I felt led to go into fasting and prayer about how I'm going to proceed, because this is not like, okay, I can't just go to my boss and be like, okay, I'm going away. It has to, it's like a career transition, and what would that look like? No, bear in mind, in my head, I was in my dream job. So, I don't want to leave my job. So Lord, let's figure this out, because I'm gonna come back in my job, and everything's gonna be all right in my head. And I went into prayer and fasting with Michael about this situation. And so I went into prayer fasting at the end of February, and it was for a 3-day fast. And I remember vividly, I was on the phone with Michael where I was writing out some Bible verses, and we were praying. And I felt in my spirit that the Lord said, prepare your resignation letter. Hey, who are you telling to resign? I'm not resigning. I'm going to come back. But I am Olivia, and I'm very obedient. The O stands for obedient. Okay? So I wrote the resignation letter. And in the resignation letter, I said, I'm resigning for August. Like after August 1, I would not be a part of your team anymore, and this is just to give you notice that I am leaving at this point. And I went back to work, and on the 7th of March I submitted that resignation letter. Remember, I want you to hold this thought. I prayed, I fasted, and the Lord said, resign. So I submitted that resignation letter. I'm laughing because this story is really, oh my gosh, guys. I think a few days later, or the same day, I don't remember exactly because this is a few years ago, but long story short was that my manager called me into a meeting and said, oh, we're accepting your resignation as at no. I said, what do you mean? And he's like, well, it makes no sense. We carry you over into the new year of business and stuff. So I said, well, I don't want to come out of my job until August. I'm just giving you notice based on the nature of my work. I assumed that resigning early would give them ample time for employing somebody, so that when I leave, my areas of focus would not be without a representative. So I worked in community development, and I work with communities, and because of my heart and my passion, I really knew that it wasn't for me. I don't think it's sensible to have the person that you're working with without the support. And so I thought it was really a practical thing for them to be aware that, okay, this person is leaving, and go forward. So I had a discussion with my manager, and I remember, I was telling him, he was like, no, don't go. You don't have to go on this. No, because I was asking for like a leave of absence, and they were like, no, it wouldn't be possible. It's only for 3 months. Um, and he was like, you don't have to take this opportunity. You can go at another time. Um, and you're about to get, a lump sum of payment from the government as gratuity. So just hold it, like, you're in the job, and this is when everybody, like, this is a point where you work, you're going to start your gratuity pay, which is a very good, lump sum. So I was like, yeah. But for me, it was like a no-brainer. Like, I'm going, you know. And so I'm like, no, I can't tell the people, oh, I should come next year. No, like, I don't know what their policies are in that regard. And by the way, what I'm getting for gratuity, I'll be getting as a stipend on this program. So, like, the money is not it. But I'm saying, like, the capacity that is going to be built within me would definitely aid my work and my outcomes. So why not? Like, this is a very valuable investment. So he was saying no, and I was like, I have to, and at the end of that discussion, it was like, well, we can't keep you until August. And I'm like, that don't make any sense. So you guys can comment below and let me know if you think like an early announcement of a resignation, like, equates to immediate termination of a job. And like what should I do? My thought was like, what would I be able to do between now March and August? Like, I need the income. So anyways, I'm being told by my manager that you gotta go. Listen, I was shocked. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And so I was like, okay. And his response was, you have to take your vacation, you have to take all your sick days and everything. And your salary that you get at the end of this month, March, is that's the end of it. By the way, I would have just gotten a car like a year. So I had a car payment and all of those things. So I'm like, I have a place I'm renting, all of these things. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how am I supposed to survive without an income and this, so I said, am I being like fired because I don't want to leave my job, but you're telling me that I have to leave? So I don't understand. So I was like, no, this don't make any sense. So by the way, Jamaica was not in Jamaica as yet, but he was coming. So I started looking on the brighter side, like, okay, I'm getting time off from work. I can chill. We can go all of these places. But mind you, your girl won't have no money after this. And I was like, Lord, didn't you tell me to resign? So how you tell me to resign? I know these people are firing me. Basically, like, this don't add up. So I'm like, I go ask lawyers if they can do this, and they're like, oh yes, they're within their rights. And I'm like, how? It don't make no sense to me. People, comment below. Let me know if this, like, reasoning makes any sense, because it made no sense to me in that moment. Like, how can you tell me that I have to leave now when I'm telling you I'm leaving in August? So between March and August is quite a number of months. So I'm like, Lord, you told me to do this. So I started praying again, like, no, this don't make any sense. And while I'm praying about the situation, I'm actually very much enjoying the time off. So I did take off, because this was like March 9th, and they were basically saying this is the day, and they work out the calculations, and all my time of vacation or sick days would have amounted for up until April the 2nd, I believe. Yes. So I could not go to work the following day or the following week, whichever time it was. I was off. And it's a lot of days. This is like a month. So I started, appreciating. I had projects that I needed to finish. I had things that I was working on. And I just didn't feel like this was a fair thing. Nevertheless, Jamaica came to Jamaica. We enjoyed the little 1 week that he spent. Like, who comes to Jamaica for a week? But the proposal happened, all of these nice things. So Jamaica proposed on the 27th of March or the 28th? I think it's 27th of March, and he was going to leave on the 1st of April. And then my final day on off would have been, like, if I'm supposed to go back to work, would have been the 2nd. So I'm like, Lord, what is happening? Like, what is really happening? No, guys, I'm very spiritual. I believe the Bible when it says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, spirits, and powers of darkness. So I no longer started looking at the situation as my manager being this kind of person or whatever. I started seeing the attack of the enemy, because remember, I fasted and prayed. So there's absolutely no way that I was obedient to the instructions of the Lord and this is the outcome. No, that don't make any sense at all. So I remember Jamaica was leaving through Kingston, so I had to drive back to Kingston, and I remember just crying, like, I'm alone now, and this is the last day, and I haven't had the exit interview, so I really don't know the final say. But I also felt like that could not be the final say. So I didn't get any communication from the organization to say that, okay, this is what it is. So you're supposed to get like a letter to say you're terminated, or a letter to say we accept your resignation, whatever. I didn't get any form of communication. So after Jamaica left, your girl in the Airbnb bawling by herself, like, Lord, this the enemy is winning again. You told me to do this, and look at the end. I'm gonna have no job, no money. And I think I called or emailed the HR manager, and I was like, could you give me something in writing, because I don't understand what is really happening here. So with her, the HR director, we were supposed to have the exit interview, and it didn't work out. So it so happened that it could have been scheduled on my timing, basically. And I said, well, I'll be in Kingston on in April 2nd, and we could do it that time, and they accepted. So I said the night before, now I'm like, how am I coming into this interview without knowing what we're going to be discussing? Like, what is it? And she sent me an email, and the email, guys, reiterated what my manager said. Oh, we accept your resignation as at March. No, that's not what I said, but that's what the letter said. So I'm like, God, it's in writing now, like it finalized. But in the midst of all of that, I felt a sense of peace. I felt a sense of knowing that, God, no matter what will happen, he is who he says he is. And whatever the circumstances may look like for me, I know that he has a greater plan. So I was literally coming to terms with, okay, I'm going to be out of a job and I just have to figure it out. And I remember talking to a manager from a different area of the organization, and he was like, no, they're not supposed to do that. But I wish you all the best in the interview, and we'll see what happens. So I prayed, and I had called my my mentor, and we were praying, and the Spirit of the Lord spoke. And I remember so vividly, basically the Lord said, shut up. What do you mean? The Lord told me to be quiet, be still, and know that I am God. I said, Lord, I hear you. I don't understand you, but I hear you. So this was in the morning. I was getting ready to go to the exit interview, and the Lord said, "Be still and know that I am God." Now, guys, I'm smiling in this video, but best believe when I heard that, I wasn't smiling. I vexed because I wanted to hear, "You won." Everything is all right. The Lord is just like, "Be still." And I'm like, "Hey, the lawyer said this, the letter said this. What you mean?" The Lord said, "Be still." So, and I put on this dress that had a printing on it that said "Woman of God," and I got myself ready and I went to the interview. The interview was supposed to be like 8:30, right? And I'm sitting there from 8:15. 8:30, nobody. 8:45, nobody. Around 9 o'clock, somebody come and said, "Oh, they're gonna be with you shortly." Okay. 9:50, nobody. So there, I'm not praying, because the Lord said, "Be still." I don't have nothing more to say. I stop praying, I just wait. And around 9:30, they call me in. And when I went in the room, it was not the director, it was her deputy. And I'm like, okay. And she looked at me, I looked at her, I sat down, and she said, "You are truly a woman of God." And based on what I had on my dress. And I said, "Okay." And she said, and I said, "Well, God is good." Something on the sort, like. And she said, "Read this." And she passed me a letter. No, this letter is what I'm supposed to sign, like the one I got in my email. And I read the letter, and I looked at her, and I said, "Huh?" And she said, "Do you understand what is there?" And I said, "I think I do, but it doesn't add up to what I was expecting." Guys, the letter, right? Hold on. Let's get to the letter. And she shared with me, she said, "I was awakened from 3 o'clock this morning, and I was just awakened and I was just praying. And I was praying in the prayer tongues, like prayer language, which is tongues, And she said she don't know why the Lord had her up and she could not go back to bed. But at 5 o'clock, she got a call. So she was praying from 3 to 5. And at 5 o'clock, she got a call from her superior, which is the director, to say, "My father is ill and I have to go to the hospital. So I can't do this particular task, which is the interview that she has with me tomorrow or later. So everything is already prepared. You can just take the documents and conduct the interview, and it has its, like, everything is done. You just have to do it, She said, "Sure, no problem." And so she started getting ready for the day. So when she came in to work, the deputy, and she looked at the documents, something simple, just an exit interview, she realized the name and she's like, "Oh, this person, I wonder why she's leaving." So she looked at my resignation letter to understand why I'm leaving. And she realized that what I wrote to say that I'm going to leave August versus what basically the final letter says doesn't coincide. They are contrary. They don't add up, because one person is leaving in August and the other person is being told that they have to leave now and saying that they're accepting the resignation as at. And she said, no, she just get to the executive director. She ran to the executive director and said, "This is not what it's supposed to be, like, And he said, "Well, do whatever you deem fit." So she got all authority in that moment to rectify the situation. And she prepared a letter. Guys, this letter stated that I was relinquished, meaning let go, no longer required, no expectation, I was relinquished of all my duties as the role that I'm in, but I am being paid. My resignation is being accepted as at. That's what happened. God was God. He said, be still and know that I'm God. And he showed up and showed off. I no longer had to work, but because of the pain, the suffering, the problems, the headache, the heartache, the Lord vindicated me. During that moment, my faith was stretched because remember at the beginning I told you I prayed, I fasted, I got a word, and I was obedient. And everything else around me didn't line up to what the word said. Everything else around me seemed to be going against this peace of knowing that the Lord told me to write that letter at that time, because people were saying you never need to tell them 2 weeks before. How dare you? Like, what's the point? Nobody does that. I said, well, the God told me to. Guys, how faithful is our God? I didn't know or experience God like that before. Yes, I'm telling you about my husband and him come through and all of them something there, but to go through a testing and trial and holding your faith after you have been obedient, guys, when I tell you, man, God is so real. God is so real. I got paid for those months and I never had to step back into that office space or work with that organization again. So I was able to, and I needed the time too to prepare for the transition to go on this fellowship program. I needed to go and do my visa interview. I needed to do English exam. I needed to do medical. I needed the time off. So if I was in work and having to ask for time off to do all of these things, I would have been stressed. I would have been, to pack up and move my stuff back home. All of these things, like I would have to try to balance all of that while working and still giving my best at work. So when I tell you guys, like, oh my God, God is so real. And God is so faithful to do what he says. If only we would ask and listen and obey. God showed up for me in such a way that up to this day, this is what 5 years later, and my mind is still blown that this woman was awakened out of her sleep. Her spirit was interceding on the circumstances. I was being told to hush, leave it alone. And it was fixed. It was dealt with in such a manner that blew my mind, because the best thing that I could have thought about was that I would have worked. I didn't want to leave my job and I wanted to work. And yes, I was very concerned about working because I wanted the income. But God, when I tell you guys, God. And I hope this testimony really brings you to a place to really ask God for some big things. Ask God to show himself in your life the way he has shown himself to me. To stretch your faith, to grow your faith in him. Because everything and almost everyone around me was on the side of the organization. You have to just go. But God. That's all I can say. This was a but God moment. God shift things, dismantle things, and provided for me far beyond what I could have thought or expected. So guys, I have to say, From that very moment until now, 5 years later, I have not signed an employment contract. I was on a 2-year employment contract, and that would have been my second year. Almost my second year, was going into my second year. I have never signed another employment contract to be where I have to right now to say I'm resigning. Never. For 5 years. For 5 years. No 9 to 5. So that's another faith journey, guys, because it has not been easy. But God, that's the title of this video. But God, when he says be still and know that he's God, knowing is an experience, knowing is an encounter, knowing is the testament, the actuality of the event. Knowing cements and concrete and solidifies the ideology. When I tell you, we don't only say we are the faith family because it looks good and we're a Christian couple. No. The stories that are about to come forth will show you that we know God. We have encountered God. We have experienced God. And we want that through this platform, through this ministry, whatever you want to call it, whatever we're doing here, that you too will get to know God, that you will grow your faith to encounter him, to know that he is God. Because there's absolutely no way, nobody can tell me, and if you think you can, comment below and tell me how it is that this woman that I met once in my life was awakened at 3 a.m. to pray, and not pray out of her regular English language knowledge of something, but to pray in the spirit, and then was told that she's now in charge of something that I have been praying about. That she was so alert and spiritually aware to recognize that God put her in that position for a time such as this, so that the prayers of the righteous, Olivia, would not be forsaken. Guys, that is a tip. When I say the tip of what God has done through Jamichael and I's life, I'm telling you, if you don't know God, if you don't know Jesus right now, now is the time to say yes. It's easy as ABC. You just need to accept that he's Lord and King of Kings. Believe in him, that he came and he died for your sin, and confess out of your mouth, this is so, and you are saved, because you don't want to miss the opportunity to know God. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. If you made it this far to the end of the video, I am grateful. I am very grateful that you're still here. So don't forget to like, don't forget to share this video with someone else. I pray that this testimony will bless you to know that God is God. God is real. God is all powerful. He is, yes and amen, he is the conquering Lion of Judah. You know, he is our refuge and our strength. He is God above all things, you know, and he will do exceedingly abundantly, far beyond what you could ask or imagine, right? I today could share just a small testimony of the big God that we serve. So guys, we will catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for supporting us. Until next time, love and blessings.
Wake up, wake up. wake up, wake up, wake up.